Welcome back, everyone. My name is Samantha, and I want you to just go on a journey with me. We're going to go from mud fossils and sediment to Black culture to people being privileged in America. You are not going to want to miss not 1 minute of this video. Good morning, friends and family. So it has been just, you guys know, you've been with me for a minute. So I got this crazy email from YouTube basically saying we're going to take away a few more of the things that you had ability to do. We don't pay you, right? We don't pay you. And I'm estimating, but if I was receiving what YouTube owed me for you guys watching these videos, it's about $2,800 a month right now. So this is YouTube right now with Sam. We're not going to pay you, but please don't stop putting out content. Okay. And now we're going to do this, and this to you because you don't have sufficient history channel history. Like, what are you talking about, YouTube? So, I mean, Elon Musk, if anybody shows you this, please buy YouTube. Now, moving on. Not recently, I always knew that fossils were part of dirt. Okay, I'm a farmer, so I understood that dirt is basically rock and granite and stuff crumbling, mixed in with, living organisms and water and sand, and it makes dirt, right? But I got exposed to something when I was in Maui that kind of shocked me, was how some of the mountains actually looked like humans. Huge humans, like maybe extremely large giants, like really big. Features, the whole body was there. And I'm like, whoa, what the snap is that? So I started digging around a little bit, and I've got the pro and I've got the con in this video for you because I don't have enough information myself to make an educated opinion. What I do have is other people talking about what they think could have happened. Let's start with the it ain't true.
Andrua or Samoan Aliyah carried 100, 200, 300 warriors. Fiji, 500. So is the Lomi Bear of Dawn. Where do you put the giant? These giants are bigger than the ships. This is the giants they're talking about. Okay. How did they feed those giants? So how big is the giant mother? Who gives birth to the giants? They said the giants were taller than a coconut tree, which means the giants were bigger than a Fijian Drua, a Tongan Kalia, Samoan Aliyah. Where do you put the rest of the warriors in? How do these giants travel? They just walk from Tonga to Samoa to New Zealand. They walked from Tahiti up north to Hawaii? Or did they walk from Tahiti to Tuamotu to Rapa Nui, East Island? How do you feed those giants? Europeans brought cattle, cow, bull, horse.
So there was a Polynesian man basically saying, we don't believe it. Now, I've met Polynesians who do, so don't jump down my throat. But his questions are valid. How big was the mother? How did they get from island to island? What did they eat? Because he goes on to say, you would have needed a whale. You would have needed a 1,000-pound shark daily to feed these giants. Would we have farmed all year long to feed one giant and us starve? Very valid question. Now let's talk about the fact that in every single culture, there is a flood story. In every single culture, there is a dragon story. So everybody probably here, most of you have heard about typhus. This was a dragon so large that when it was killed, its body laid across the entire top of, or is it the bottom? I can't remember, of Africa. Like it was, I'm just guessing, let's just say 1,000 miles long, right? And there are people that believe that its carcass, right? The bones hardening is what made some of the mountain ridges in that area. And if you follow it on Google Maps, which I did, and you can do it yourself, you definitely can see what looks like a dragon killing a fish. So here's just a picture of it. See it? It's like the dragon and the fish. What's more interesting to me is not what we can see with our own eyes from Google Maps, but this coin of a dragon killing a large fish. It's a gold coin. This coin is like 4,000 years old, folks. And the stories that are in from philosophy and mythology that come from that time period claim that this actually happened in this part of the world. And they even made coins that have survived along with the stories. And if you trust your eyes, what Google Map tells you is actually there. It's also the fact that in some caves around the world, they have found things that look identical to a very large dragon's eye. And look at the detail. Look how much like a serpent's eye that actually is, folks. And then you've got fossils like this that legitimately look just like a large snake petrified. Some people will never believe it, and some people believe everything they're told. I'm somewhere in the middle because I understand sediment and I understand fossils and I understand how things turn and petrify back into hardened materials that we may take for rock when it's really bone. So I think there's a fine line. I think there are things that we have not been told about our history on this earth, but I do not necessarily fall into the category that I believe every mountain that I see was once a giant that walked this earth, because it just doesn't make, there's too much missing there also. So moving on, folks, let's talk about privileged people in America. So some of the things I've noticed lately, I actually interviewed the Texas boys. You guys remember that? And he was telling us that they were demonetized because his sons killed an insect on video, okay? And that there was some rumbling about the boys working on the farmstead. Yesterday, I saw on Facebook another large homestead family, conservative homestead family, who was demonetized and their video removed from YouTube showing their 11-year-old son running the tractor. Guys, that is par for the course if you live this lifestyle. Kids participate in this life. I mean, my 5-year-old godson gathers eggs and helps me plant corn. So, I mean, kids work on farms. That is how it works. So they basically demonetized both these channels along with mine. And on top of that, they are allowing people in the Black community to exploit children. I ran across a video of a young rapper, right? And he was on a, what do they call that? A 20-something. It's like a dating. It's like one man and 20 women, and you've got so many minutes to choose who you're going to be with. They did this with children. And I was actually going to show you guys the video, and my husband watched it and looked at me, and it's the second time in 2 years. He goes, "You can't show that on your channel." He's like, "That is sexual exploitation of children, Samantha." But both the channels that I saw this nonsense on are still up and running and making money. They had children standing with adults as adults talked about explicit sexual positions, and it was, y'all, it was disgusting. It was something I cannot believe that YouTube is going to take down wholesome content showing what children can actually do, but leave up little girls with their booties in the air, shaking it in front of the face of a 9-year-old rapper. Yeah, talk about privilege, huh? And I saved the last for best, you guys. Best for last kind of thing. I found this young Chinese woman, if I can even call her that, because her pronouns are they, them, who was adopted by a white family out of a Chinese orphanage, okay? And she was brought to America, given the freedom of speech and total freedom, raised, loved, educated, and she now calls herself trafficked. She says that she was bought, that she was trafficked, and that it was not her biological family's fault. She doesn't blame them. So I thought I would show you some reactions from some of my brown brothers and sisters in the content creator world. I'm mixing up words left and right today. But their reactions to her claiming to be a victim are so funny. I was like, I have got to show my people this, because they're like, yo, wait a second. That's called adoption. It's not called trafficking. And I mean, they just rip her a new one and she can't handle it. She has now turned all of her social media platforms to private. And she should, because shame on her. And I feel really bad for the white people that were nice enough to take in this little brat. You should have maybe picked the kid in the bed beside her. Here we go.
To this horrible country. I am not an American. I am not an American.
It is not a metaphor. I was purchased when I was a toddler. I was trafficked into the United States. I was purchased by white people. I was sold from an orphanage.
Now, during her childhood, this woman was in a Chinese orphanage, but fortunately, she was adopted by a white couple. She was adopted, not trafficked. This woman was adopted by a loving and compassionate American couple, brought over to the land of the free, given a good life, provided for, sent to school, made an American citizen, enjoys the freedom of speech and the freedom to become queer or whatever she identifies as, okay? But because she is a horrible human being who has been infected by the woke mind virus and who harbors a kind of hatred for white people, so that black people can see her as an ally, okay? She decided to victimize herself and attack white people because the white couple adopted her. I have a lot to say to this lady, but before I expose my opinions, let's take a look at what some other reasonable people had to say.
I can't believe I was trafficked to this horrible country. I can't believe I was trafficked to this horrible country. I am not an American. I am not an American.
She was in a Chinese orphanage and got adopted. Not trafficked, adopted.
It is not a metaphor. I was purchased when I was a toddler. I was trafficked into the United States. I was purchased by white people. I was sold from an orphanage.
I mean, she can call it whatever she wants, but that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to her. Because she gets to be in America, on her phone, whining on TikTok about how bad she hates America, instead of what most likely would have happened to her if she stayed over there. Truth is, she wasn't going to get adopted by anybody in China. Less than 0.1% of Chinese orphans get adopted domestically. So she would have just stayed institutionalized, then turned 14 and aged out, meaning she's ineligible to be adopted anymore. And this is what happens to kids in China who age out. The best case scenario, they get to stay in the orphanage, finish school, and get a minimum wage service job. The opportunity for higher education, a better job, or starting a family are virtually unattainable for these kids. Now, worst case scenario, you get to be released out onto the streets alone with no resources at the ripe age of 14 years old. And then when you're out on the streets alone with no resources or money, you'll be forced to find a way to make some money. You'll be forced to put yourself in shady, undesirable situations like selling your body.
So we're headed out this morning to try out some new churches in our community. We've been plugging in to a Holy Spirit-filled church in the next parish over. But Stephen and I want to tithe in our community. We want to serve in our community. So we're going this morning to start checking out the churches locally. So say a little prayer for us, guys. Have a blessed Sunday. Get yourself prepared for the week. Know that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins. And he's right there for you, folks, anytime you need him. We love you guys. If you'd like to support our channel, it's linked in comments. God bless. Have an amazing day.